want to invite you to play a game with me. With your left arm, make a cross. Very good. Put it down. And with your right arm, make a circle. Very good. Put it down. Now place both of these movements together. You see, most people will fail at this because our brains are not wired to connect these movements. This is an icebreaker developed by Brazilian theater practitioner Augusto Boal, creator of Theater of the Oppressed, which is a series of theater games and exercises designed to help participants understand their social reality and then change it. I play this game with collaborators on the first day of rehearsals because it sets the tone for a theater space that invites laughter, experimentation, and at many times failure. It helps us to build a cohesive ensemble. For much of my life, I always thought about the rehearsal as a means to an end. The product, the performance. But it wasn't until I started working in areas of war and post-war that I began to understand the power, impact, and potential of a rehearsal space to a means of a much larger end, a better world. My name is Marinaccio. I'm a documentarian working in theater, photography, and film. I am also a PhD candidate in theater and performance at the CUNY Graduate Center, where I study theater rehearsals in areas of conflict and war. As a documentary theater maker, I've had the privilege of building performances in collaboration with actors and non-actors in communities impacted by structural and intimate violence. In many instances, the rehearsal room is the first space where stories and experiences are validated, struggles are connected, and participants are given a sense of humanity that is otherwise denied to them in the world outside of theater. Today I'm going to talk with you about one of the communities I've worked with, the Ashtar Theater located in the Palestinian West Bank. The Ashtar Theater is founded by Iman Aoun and Edward Muallim, and is an education program and theater that provides young people with acting training, physical theater, theater of the oppressed, and helps develop leadership skills backstage and beyond the stage. Ashtar's work is critical because Palestinian youth are among the most vulnerable in the world, exposed to daily violence, poverty, and displacement from the occupation and ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So come with me all the way back to the year 2018 and join me and a group of 6 U.S. theater makers on our trip to the 4th annual Ashtar International Youth Theater Festival, which is a 10-day festival for young people where attendees spend 6 hours each day in workshops and rehearsals training to devise a collective showcase. This is a photo from one of our first days of rehearsal together. There are 4 actors in this photo, and each of us speaks a different language. Our first task in working together was figuring out how to communicate in the room. So we began with games, like the one we played earlier. Each of us brought a different theater game from our practice, and I brought Zip Zap Zap. Maybe you know this one. It's a game where you pass the word Zip Zap Zap through the group to build energy and focus. When I introduced this game to my workshop in Palestine, the students, all older teens, started laughing. "We can't play this," our translator said, "because here zip means," she pointed downwards. In Palestine, zip is slang for male genitals. So together we adjusted this game. We passed a series of gestures and sounds instead of words. We played with tone and emotion, unpacking the details and meanings of what gestures meant where we came from. Although this game became very different from our initial Zip Zap Zop, the ideas that emerged led us to investigate concepts of home, particularly lullabies and fairy tales. We used the songs taught to us as children to build the short play that we presented at the end of the festival. That summer, the Ashtar students devised and performed an adaptation of Henrik Ibsen's Pier Gint under the direction of Amir Zabana, a graduate of the Ashtar Theater School. He explained that due to the Israeli government's travel restrictions on the West Bank, despite their proximity to the Mediterranean coast, a lot of youth have never seen the sea before. He says, quote, "In Pier Gint, there's a lot of talk about water and the ocean, and elements of water are missing from our daily lives. Our lives are very ingrained in reality and in concrete gray blocks, so seeing something that encourages you to think and to imagine and to travel somewhere else with your mind is healthy and important." The idea is that if you can imagine the sea, then you can imagine yourself free. And I watched the Pier Gint ensemble use the rehearsal space to conceive and create the world they wished to live in, and witnessed how that process helped shift their own narratives and perspectives on what could be possible in their lives. This is Amir Zabana. He played the title role of Pier Gint. He shared with me, quote, "I don't want to be limited either by nationalism, religion, or my current location. The theater's an escape for me. Theater is not only an artistic tool, but a cultural one. It teaches you how to break out of what society has defined you by. When you break people's expectations and smack them in the face with something new, that's when you start making change." Amir recently graduated from university and is now a filmmaker. He's one of many successful Ashtar Theater graduates. I have shared with you just this one example of how rehearsal spaces become more than just preparing the play, how it changes lives. But I want you to remember that right now, on militarized borders, in basements, bomb shelters, refugee camps worldwide, artists are making the space and providing tools for imagining alternatives to the current reality and creating new futures, reminding us that our identities as artists are not separate from our identities as citizens. Sustainable change requires imagination and vision, but also requires action. And it was in those spaces, in those rehearsal rooms, where we were provided with a space to imagine what the world could be. Now we are tasked with creating it.